It's a
Madonna was inspired to do the fundraiser when a close friend died of AIDS last year. It was her way of fighting back the disease with money and information.
You know, AIDS is a powerful and mysterious disease that continues to elude us, but we are more powerful because we can stop it from spreading any further by educating ourselves and finding out the facts.
The facts, in the form of a comic book, were handed out free to all concert goers.
You must be my lucky star, so you shine on me wherever you are.
Proceeds from ticket sales and merchandising will go to the American Foundation for AIDS Research. The money will be put to work in the laboratory by the end of the month.
The sold-out audience, which included Madonna's husband, actor Sean Penn, opened up their pocketbooks as well as their hearts, shelling out as much as $100 a ticket to benefit AMFAR, the American Foundation for AIDS Research.
Hopefully, with your presence tonight, the money that we've raised for research grants will help us to find a cure, and I hope to God it does.
Madonna received a lot of support from AMFAR when her former roommate, a New York artist, became sick last year with AIDS. He died in November.
So if you should ever die, wonder what love is all about.
Most of the fans I talked to tonight were primarily here to see Madonna, but they were also aware this was a benefit and glad that their money was going to support a good cause.
I paid $100 for both tickets, and I feel the money is really going to go for a good cause, you know. Something really has to be done about this, you know.
Madonna also wanted this to be an educational event for her fans, so each one received a comic book describing how the disease can and cannot be transmitted.
A lot of these people wouldn't even bother to read it if it wasn't for Madonna. You know, they wouldn't bother to read it, but if it's given at a Madonna concert, then they might think, you know, this is something important.
Tonight's benefit is expected to raise more than $350,000 for AIDS research. From Madison Square Garden.
They lined up at the Garden. Nobody had to ask who's that girl. It was Madonna they had come to see. Special contributors had paid $50 to $100 for the best seats. But Madonna wanted to make sure that her fans could afford to be there too. So half of the 13,000 tickets went for $25. There were plenty of people who looked like Madonna, but it was the genuine article who took over the stage. Last winter, the American Foundation for AIDS Research asked Madonna if she would do something for the battle against the disease. She promised they would hear from her the next time she went on the road. Sure enough, the foundation got a call 3 weeks ago that this extra concert would be added to her Who's That Girl tour. Tonight's performance will raise about $250,000. Only a few hours before the concert began, the American Foundation for AIDS Research met to decide which researchers will get the money raised here tonight. The foundation vowed that the funds collected from Madonna fans would be at work in laboratories by the end of the month. Ben Farnsworth, News 4 New York.
I'm really here for two reasons. Number one is because I really believe in AIDS Project LA, and the services that they have provided for people with AIDS and in the Los Angeles community, and for the prevention education that they support, and the second reason I'm here is because I love to dance.
And dance she did. In fact, Madonna danced and danced and danced for nearly an hour straight, along with her pal Sandra Bernhard, her Who's That Girl co-star Cody Mundi, and backup singer Nikki Harris.
They're here to make sure that I don't perform too many nasty dance moves. That Christopher Flynn is responsible for teaching me.
Chris Flynn, who introduced Madonna at this fundraising dance-a-thon for the AIDS Project of LA, is an AIDS victim himself. He's also the first dance teacher Madonna ever had, and still a very close friend.
You will understand the depth of my faith in her when I tell you that she was among the first persons I turned to when I was diagnosed. She understands, she cares, and like you, she knows that being here makes all the difference.
You know, he's thanking me for being here, but I have to say thank you to him because he's the man responsible for encouraging me to go after my dreams, to go to New York, to, I don't know. He taught me, I went to my first dance class with him. He's a great guy.
As your oldest living disco partner, I claim the first dance.
Many people think you can tell if someone has AIDS just by looking at them, but they're wrong. A person can have AIDS for a long time without showing any symptoms. So protect yourself. Not having sex is one way to avoid AIDS. Staying away from people who shoot drugs is another. If you do have sex, use a condom. It may be the most important thing you ever do, because what you see may not be what you get. Help protect yourself against AIDS.
Oh my God.
Soy Madonna. Algunas personas piensan que el amor los protege del SIDA. El SIDA se contagia por medio del contacto sexual o el uso de jeringas no esterilizadas. El amor no cuenta. No tener relaciones sexuales es una manera de protegerse del SIDA. No juntarse con drogadictos es otra. Si mantienes relaciones sexuales, usa un condón. El amor no te protege. Los condones sí.
Madonna took a different route. She donated all profits from her closing U.S. night to charity. Madonna celebrated the end of the U.S. leg of her highly publicized Blonde Ambition tour at the Meadowlands in New Jersey Monday night. The crowd-pleasing big-budget extravaganza has wowed audiences across the country, even though Madonna had to cancel several dates because of throat problems. Still, the final show was the most special of all, as she dedicated her performance to an artist friend who died earlier this year, proving she really isn't a material girl.
I wanted to dedicate the show to the memory of Keith Haring, who was a friend of mine who died of AIDS a couple months ago. And, you know, the money from the show is going to AMFAR, which is, great. AMFAR, which is American Foundation for AIDS Research. I believe, and I hope you do too, that we can defeat AIDS. We can do it if we do it together.
When the rumor surfaced that I was HIV positive, I thought, well, someone's really bored today. There's a lull in current events. Let's make up a real juicy story. I tried to ignore it, but it wouldn't go away. My press agent's phone started ringing off the hook. Tabloids, TV stations, and columnists were all salivating for some news about a press conference that I was supposedly having to announce the horrible truth to the world. Some actually seemed disappointed that it was not true. Now, I am not HIV positive, but what if I were? I would be more afraid of how society would treat me for having the disease than the actual disease itself.
What do you do if you have AIDS? What would I do if I had AIDS? I would probably do everything I could to live a long and healthy life.
What do you think about the real world now, the problems?
Well, it's sort of a strange question because the real world consists of everything, good and bad. There are good things, there are triumphs, and there are tragedies in life. So AIDS is part of it. If you're asking me what I think of AIDS, I hope and pray that we find a cure for it because it's killing all of my friends.
Madonna, a longtime AIDS activist, was among the charity revelers once again this year.
A very special guest showed up at this giant dance party.
Algunas personas piensan que el amor los protege de SIDA. Están mal. Amores no, los condones sí. ¿Entiendes? La vida es muy importante, ¿sí? Cuidado. This next song I wrote about two very dear friends of mine who died of AIDS. A la memoria de mis amigos.
This next song I wrote about two very dear friends of mine who died of AIDS. And though you don't know my friends, I'm sure that each and every one of you tonight knows someone or will know someone who is suffering from AIDS, the greatest tragedy of the 20th century. For all of you out there who understand what I'm talking about, don't give up.
A high-profile material girl has toned down her oath. Here she is, grungy and gown at a charity event in San Francisco.
Madonna and friends helped raise almost $200,000 at an AIDS fundraiser in Los Angeles.
Madonna was wearing a see-through skirt as she and her pooch Chiquita came out to support a celebrity auction for the Pediatric AIDS Foundation.
Hello, good morning. 10 years ago, I attended the first Los Angeles AIDS Dance-a-thon, and I'm here this morning for the same reason I was then. AIDS remains a deadly disease that kills people. The crisis continues and it demands everyone's sustained and active support. And since Washington, D.C. has focused their attention elsewhere lately, bills sit in Congress that should be passed that could fund the necessary education to kids who still don't know about AIDS prevention. And can someone please tell me why Kenneth Starr gets $45 million for a ludicrous investigation and they cannot fund one needle exchange program? There's something wrong with this picture. If only we could get Congress to pay attention to more important things. Anyway, thank you very much for coming. Have a great walk.
Today, too many people shun those with AIDS. People with AIDS are often victims of discrimination and even violence. Putting that kind of stigma on people is wrong. This is the 21st century. There's no excuse for failing to treat those who are sick. And there's no excuse for treating people badly who have AIDS. The choice is ours to make. Let's be smart and let's be compassionate. And remember, it's never too late to do the right thing.
People always ask me why I chose Malawi, and I tell them, I didn't. It chose me. I got a phone call from a woman named Victoria Keelan. She was born and raised in Malawi. She told me that there were over 1 million children orphaned by AIDS. She said there weren't enough orphanages, and that the children were everywhere, living on the streets, sleeping under bridges, hiding in abandoned buildings, being abducted, kidnapped, raped. She said it was a state of emergency. She sounded exhausted and on the verge of tears. I asked her how I could help. She said, "You're a person with resources. People pay attention to what you say and do." I felt embarrassed. I told her I didn't know where Malawi was. She told me to look it up on a map, and then she hung up on me. I decided to investigate, and I ended up finding out much more than I bargained for. About Malawi, about myself, about humanity.
I want to point out that today is World AIDS Day. Yes. And it's important to remember that we still haven't found a cure for AIDS, but we have found a way to keep people alive and healthy. And that is because so many amazing people for more than 3 decades have been doing amazing work to make that magic happen. Yes. And I want to, please bear with me because I feel like I should acknowledge not only the dearest, greatest, most amazing and lovely friends of mine who died of AIDS so many years ago, who still do. The entire family of my adopted son died of AIDS. It's just recently. It's not a disease that has gone away, and we need to remember that. So let's give a big thanks to people who continue to fight to find a cure for this disease. And let's acknowledge all the people who have passed, who have fought to raise awareness. We shall overcome one day. Thank you.
The AIDS epidemic. The plague that moved in like a black cloud over New York City, and in the blink of an eye, took out all of my friends. Suddenly, everyone was talking about gay cancer, the disease that gay people deserved. It was on every headline, it was on every news show. I saw people starting to behave differently towards people who were HIV positive or who had AIDS. Not wanting to shake their hands or eat chips out of the same bowl or touch the same doorknob. It made me sad, it made me feel sick, it made me want to kick everybody's ass. It made me want to shout from the top of the Empire State Building, what the f is going on? Why are we losing all the beautiful people, all the special ones? Somebody do something fast. And I remember the pandemonium and the fear and people trying all kinds of drugs that didn't work and doing my own drug runs to Mexico for my friends to buy experimental medicines that were supposed to help cure but ended up killing them even faster. And a lot of activist groups were forming, but everybody was fighting amongst each other and research was not going fast enough. And after I lost my best friend and roommate, Martin Burgoyne, and then Keith Haring, happy birthday, Keith.
I decided to take up the bullhorn and really fight back. I started to do, well, what some people perceive to be outrageous things. I went to St. Vincent's Hospital. I heard there was a whole ward of men and women dying of AIDS. When I arrived, I felt like I had entered a concentration camp. Emaciated bodies in every bed, and all these people who had been abandoned by their families and their friends and their loved ones. I decided to defy the universe and get into every bed and put my arms around as many humans as I could and make them feel loved and human. I came home smelling like shit and vomit and death and defiance. I came home smelling like gratitude. A few weeks later, I was leaving my apartment building on CPW and 64th Street. Don't worry, everybody knows where I live anyways. I walked out into my courtyard, and my courtyard was filled with news crews and paparazzi, and flashes were going off, and microphones were being stuck in my face, and reporters were asking me how it felt to be diagnosed with HIV, and how it felt to have AIDS. And suddenly, everything clicked into place. I realized then and there that if you are going to stick your neck out and fight for the rights of people who are feared or misunderstood or different, you better be ready for the lies, the bullying, the bullshit, the gossip, the hatred, and the abuse. These were dark days for all of us, but I never gave up because it was the gay community that embraced me and gave me life and the courage to be me. So I had to get in the front line, no matter the cost.
In 1991, I stood on the Amphar stage and I was forced to clear up rumors that I had AIDS. I recall many journalists sticking microphones in my face, asking me, attacking me even, and saying, Madonna, is it true? Are you HIV positive? And of course my reply was, no, I just want to help people who are. That was an extremely eye-opening experience. I understood then that there was and there still is so much fear that people actually think and thought that if you stood next to a person with AIDS, or worse, hugged a person with AIDS, that you could get it. For the past 40 years, I have fought for and lost countless friends to the AIDS epidemic. And I'm so relieved to see future generations of artists continue to raise awareness to help find a cure and support those currently living with AIDS. Last year, and this is important, last year, a staggering 1.5 million people were infected with HIV. And can you imagine 160,000 of those people are under the age of 15. Think about it. We're living in a pandemic, right? And it's very serious. But think about this pandemic. It's still not over. All of this praise from me doesn't come without a request. I ask that you continue to keep going. Keep striving. Keep using your platform and your platform shoes to change the way that people look at others who are different, who are unique, who are extraordinary, and often marginalized.
Espero les haya gustado y no olviden dejar su buen like, suscribirse y activar la campanita de notificaciones para que no se pierdan ninguno de los próximos videos. Un saludo y ¡Vogue!